come. So yeah. Okay, hello officially everybody. Thanks for joining our first ever Premier panel. Using this as our replacement for the Premier networking tours that we typically do. Obviously they're just not feasible right now, and as soon as we can, we'll start doing those again. We'll be looking forward to it. Today we are joined by our panelists, our Premier experts in their areas. We have Rick Franz from the Windermere Bellevue South office, but just specializing in Seattle as a whole today. We're going to use him as our over-the-mountain representative. We have Randy Wells from Citigroup office here in Spokane. And then we have Lisa Biondo. Okay, do I say it Biondo or Biondo? I always say it wrong.
Biondo.
Biondo. I finally got it right. From our Coeur d'Alene office with our Idaho information. So we'll get going here. And if you, like I said before, if you have any questions for our panelists as we get through these, feel free to add those into our group chat, and we'll get to as many of those at the end as we can. Hopefully most of those questions are going to be answered as we get through these first few parts here. So let's start off with you, Rick. So could you share with us what you've personally seen in the Seattle and surrounding area in regards to showings, days on market, overall activity, and just since the restrictions have been put in place?
You bet. So our area, of course, Kirkland, Washington was supposedly where first started, and that was back on February 27th. We had our first death. And we started noticing at the beginning of March that social distancing was going to start happening, and we needed to limit the amount of exposure we had out there. And so many events were canceled at the beginning of March. So things were still moving along quite nicely. We actually, March 27th is when we had the lockdown. Properties were selling pretty briskly up until that point. They started slowing mid-March. But as the lockdown happened, it really became socially not very acceptable to get out and do anything, even though realtors were ultimately exempt and we could do one-on-one showings. It was not necessarily the socially conscious thing to be doing, to be getting out of your house and showing something. So that started to open up about 2 weeks in. So I'd say about, about a week now. You start seeing more agents out there. I think it's kind of the new normal to see more and more agents. We're certainly still having sales. I'd say we're down easily 53%. So March 11th, which was a very normal market typically, King County had 1,661 active listings. We now have 2,227 active listings. We had 640 sales, and we only have 309 sales a month later for a week. So it's an odd market. The lower ends, let's say under a million, is extremely active. A gentleman in one of my network groups just put on a property for $825,000 near Microsoft. He had in 5 days 70 showings. This is one-on-one showings. He had 70 of them. They had 14 offers. 5 of them were over $900,000. And a 1,760 square foot Rambler. The offer that was accepted, $50,000 earnest money released. They waived financing and appraisal, no inspection. So you get that sort of a dynamic that's happening in one segment of the marketplace. Yet I have one that we decided to take off the market. That was another trend that was happening. Should we leave our properties on the market? So I have one that's $2,150,000. And we brought it on the week of the shutdown. And it's vacant, decided, well, let's just go ahead and leave it on. The week before or 2 weeks before, I probably would have had 8 offers. And all of a sudden, everything stopped. So we decided to pull it off the market. I've now just put it, now we've decided let's go ahead and put it back on because we're seeing activity starting to pick up. We put it back on. I decided let's be more aggressive because I did, while it was off market, get an offer for $1,750,000. We decided, no, we're not going to take that. So we are seeing good 10% low offers in some of the higher end. Just because. So I decided to lower it to 2 million. We'll probably, that was yesterday and we had 2-3 showings. So it looks like we'll probably get that sold pretty quickly now. It's just a strange market. Yeah. So I'd say the high end is what's suffering a little bit more. We've got a lack of jumbo loans available, so that's concerning some. I've got another property on the market that's new construction for $2.35 million, and we have quite a few people interested, but they're hovering. They're kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. What are their loan options? What's their portfolio doing? Portfolios are volatile right now, so a lot of people just kind of sitting on the fence trying to figure out what to do. So in the high-end market, it's interesting. Area 520 is an area that's west of 405. It's Medina, it's Clyde Hill, it's downtown Bellevue. We've had over the $1.75 million mark. We've had 51 properties come on since the lockdown, which I think that's pretty remarkable. 2 of them have sold contingent, and there's 15 pendings since the lockdown. So 17 sales, 51 new listings. It's not a vibrant market, but there's still a market.
Thank you, Rick. We appreciate it. Since you guys are a couple weeks ahead of us, I know a lot of agents, owners, everyone is looking to Seattle area for what to expect. So that's appreciated. In the same idea, Lisa, curious what the Idaho high-end market is looking like. Are you guys seeing the same effects as Spokane being so close to us, or what is it that you're noticing with those premier listings?
Yeah, well, first of all, can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
So, Rick, just curious, in that area that you mentioned, what's the average price? Do you know what the average sold price is?
The average sales price was, I thought I had it written down. Bellevue tends to be about $890,000.
Okay, I thought it was about 900,000. Yeah, and then are a lot of those cash sales?
Surprisingly enough, not as many cash sales. In the higher end, you'll get the cash sales, but that $1 to $2 million market still loans. The majority of them, 2 to 3, still. As you start to get a little higher, maybe not as much.
Okay, thanks. All right, so in North Idaho, our numbers have not really changed. Now, we are different in that real estate was considered an essential business, so we're still able to go out and show houses. We had, booties and gloves and hand sanitizer and that kind of thing while we were showing. But there were still showings happening, and our numbers were the same. So from last year, our prices in the higher end, which our premier over here is 700,000 and higher. So our prices compared to last year have gone up by 11% this year, and that has still remained the same even during the coronavirus outbreak. So the last few months, it has still, our sold prices are still up 11%, just over 11% actually. And we see about 20 selling per month of the premier listings, and that has also been the same number. So we've still had 20 per month the last few months selling as well. Now, I am curious as to what's going to happen with loans. with the lack of jumbo loans. I've talked to several loan officers that have said they have some in-house products that they're doing, but otherwise no jumbo loans. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But half of our Premier sales are cash. So we do have a good amount of those that are selling for cash. And I think we're going to see probably even more of those. And in the last downturn that we had around here, 80% of our higher end sales were cash. So we tend to get a lot of people moving from bigger markets to our more rural market during a downturn. So we'll see if that happens. We're kind of seeing that trend already. And we currently have 17 months of inventory for 700,000 and higher, which is pretty typical for our area. So yeah, we haven't really seen much of a change.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that information. Like Christy just said, that's interestingly said good information. So thank you for that. Oh, sorry, I'll unmute you, Rick.
Oh.
For area, I said 900 in Bellevue. I looked up the statistic for area 520, which is that market that I was talking about that had 51 new listings. Average median sales price is 2.437.
Wow.
That's the higher end area of, and that is down actually over 2019. We were down 6% year over year.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, one thing I should mention too, our average sales price for that Premier is about 1.2 million.
And Lisa, other Lisa would like to know, was new construction impacted in Idaho?
No, it was not. We are still able to do construction. One of my very close friends is a builder that does custom high-end homes. He's doing Mark Few's house on Hayden Lake right now, and another $13 million home on the lake. So those are still going forward. He has not seen any delays at all. I was saying earlier, some of our lower end construction might start seeing a few delays because a lot of our stuff is coming out of Washington where they can't make cabinets anymore. Our granite is coming out of Washington and that is being shut down. So there's a few delays there, but otherwise construction is going as normal. And my friend I was talking about, he uses local cabinet makers and a lot of local people, and he has not seen any delays at all.
Okay, thank you. And I do see more questions coming in. We're going to kind of switch up a little bit, but we will come back to those questions at the end. So keep them coming. Okay, Brandy. A lot of our agents in here today are Spokane. You're our Spokane guy today. Can you tell us what you've seen, any advice you might have when it comes to showing, since we are on stricter guidelines right now, they on Idaho, and whether you've personally had clients who have been wanting to hold off, or whether you've seen a push for continued showings, continued viewings of properties?
This reminds me of a meeting that I think it was an owners meeting back in like 2003 or 4, and and I basically said that, you know, it was 2008, something like that, and I just said, I'm not participating in the slowdown. I'm just keeping going and staying in touch with all my people and continuing to go. And so I really haven't, I mean, my listings, I'm not getting as many listings as I normally would right now, but buyers are still out there. And I think like Rick ran into with, people are calling it the Corona discount, these cash buyers on high-end homes trying to think that, whoa, they can come in and steal a high-end home right now. And what I've noticed is that a lot of the sellers, I mean, they're not hurting. They're doing fine. So they're not playing with some of these guys trying to get a big discount. I was in a bidding war last week for one for 640. So, you know, everything that I've been doing has been going just fine. And the showings, you know, I just take one of them in at a time, and then if on some of the listings, I'll ask the listing agent if it's okay that after I've taken each one of them in separately, I say, is it okay if they go in on their own without me while I'm standing on the porch? And some of the agents were no, and most of them were fine with that, because for what.
Okay, we'll re-find Randy. Oh, he's back.
Oh,
You're
there
back.
he
Sorry, my phone rang.
Oh.
That was a buyer. So, and I also pulled some stats for premier properties in Spokane. Since the shutdown, there are 34 premier properties have gone pending. Well, homes over 600 have gone pending in Spokane County. You know, I didn't pull up what last year's numbers are, but that's telling me that there's still buyers out there looking around and interested in moving forward. And there's been 59 new listings over 600 come on the market since mid-March when we got shut down. And there's been 14 closed, anywhere from 600 up to 2.2. So I think that the biggest thing that we have to deal with in this is the 6-inch market, what's in between our ears. And you still got to stay out there and whether it's in your office at home or whatever, but we've just got to continue talking with our clients and making things happen. I just happened to send a new listing to a client that I hadn't talked to, and they kind of went on hold, didn't want to do anything for a while. And I just sent them a new listing that would fit and work for them. Yes, 2 days ago. They called yesterday. I showed it to them, and that was them just calling. That's why I disappeared, because they want to make an offer. So there's stuff happening. And right now, sorry, I'm bouncing all around. There's 4.8 months worth of inventory above 600,000 in Spokane County, which for above 600,000 in Spokane, I know Rick just laughs at that and thinks 600. But that is premier property in Spokane, and there's 4.8 months worth of inventory. That's not horrible.
Great, thank you, Randy. One more question that I have that's kind of for all of you, so we'll just start with Rick, go Rick, Lisa, Randy, same way we did before with your response to it. Is, in your opinion, what do you expect the premier market to look like once these restrictions have been lifted? Do you expect kind of a flood, a trickle? Just your general idea of what you think is going to happen. And Lisa, that might be less of a factor for you since you haven't seen a huge slowdown, but for Washington especially, it will be a difference.
I think we're starting to see more properties starting to come to market, though it's really, the conversations that I've had is we may as well wait until the lockdown is over. There's no sense of urgency necessarily on that part, and we'd really like to have as many viewers as possible. And so you have those conversations. I mean, if they absolutely need to sell now, and there are some of those, then why not? Why not try it? Some properties are selling. Different locations. There's Kirkland is actually funny where the virus started. The Kirkland's market with Google and Facebook and all of our companies that are in that area. Properties are selling. They were selling rapidly in February and March, and that market hasn't gone away. We still have a tremendous amount of job growth with Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft. They're all going to continue thriving. So we do believe that the market is probably going to be a more of a V instead of a U. And if you look if you look at just that example of the 825,000 Rambler with that many offers and 70 showings in the tightest of conditions right now, it's clearly going to bounce right back. So I've got lots of buyers that are waiting. I've got lots of sellers that are waiting. I don't know that it's going to necessarily happen until we get closer to the end of the lockdown, but some people are just kind of bored right now as well. Well, look, we may as well do it. And agents are like, we may as well start showing again. So we're hoping that what the John L. Scott and Jeff Wood and Bill Riss of Coldwell Banker, they met with Christine Gregoire, and what they're hoping that the governor will allow come May 4th, May 5th is that we can go from 1-on-1 to 1-on-2. We can have 3 people through a house at a given time, which certainly would make things a little easier.
Sure, thank you, Rick. Lisa, so even though there hasn't been a huge slowdown, one of the questions that has come through is kind of matching this question of from Alice, wanting to know whether tightening lending will suppress this good market as things open up for those areas coming out of the economic shutdown. So that kind of applies to all areas too, but you were talking about have you already seen a little bit of that, and with you guys not being as affected by necessarily the restrictions, have you seen a slowdown because of the lending restrictions?
Well, not yet, but it's all happened so quickly. So, we don't really have any numbers for that yet. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if that does happen. I hope not. Also, it's kind of interesting. We don't know how long banks are going to continue to tighten up on lending as well. If things open up again, people are getting jobs back, they're getting their payments made to them, well, then they might start loosening up on and doing some more of those jumbo loans. So not sure how long that's going to last. I like Rick and Randy were saying as well, I do know of people who are holding off on listing their house as well until some of this is over. And I think from what I'm hearing from people is that they kind of want to know more certainty in the market and what's going to happen. So, so I think once things lift somewhat, we will see more inventory come on the market. And yeah, I guess that's that.
Thank you, appreciate it. And then we'll go back to you, Randy. Just in the Spokane market, do you foresee big changes? Do you think that things are going to kind of go on the same path as Seattle, as Rick was saying? Or do you think that us being a little bit of a, I guess, lower, higher end market is going to come into play?
I think we're going to be a V recovery as well. Based on all the people that I'm working with on the buyer side, they're not holding off. And the other thing you got to look at here is a lot of the people are looking at their 401ks and all that, and they're thinking, geez, do I just want to take some of that money and put it in real estate, because that's more stable. It's proving more stable than the markets. So I'm sure we'll start running into a little bit of that. Maybe investment properties picking up as well. So I mean, I think that it should. As long as they don't drag this out, we got to open up here soon. I just feel so bad for some of these restaurant owners and small business owners that are just. I feel like 30% of them will never reopen again. I mean, that's kind of scary and sad. So I think that as long as we start putting things together and start gradually getting opened up, things will move along fine.
Sure. Now also opening it up to anyone who's tuned in today, if you have any other questions for our panelists specific to them or just in general, please type them into the chat and we'll try to get through some of those if you have any. I will also be sending out an email to everybody today with what would have been our virtual tour. We've had a few properties come in that we put into a video format, so it'll be a YouTube video of our virtual tour. So if you have interest or questions about the properties in that virtual tour, please contact the listing agent and they'll be happy to help you. If you have any questions about today, feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'd love to help. We'll still be pushing out as much of our Premier benefits as possible. So keep an eye out for announcements. Christy would like to know, are sellers wanting the Matterport or 3D tour more now? Have any of you three noticed a push for that?
Go ahead, Rick.
I think it's a necessity. We didn't necessarily have it on right at the beginning, and because people are looking at more and more properties online, I felt it was very imperative to have the Matterport tours on all of our listings. Oddly enough, Zillow doesn't allow upload of any of those sorts of videos, so you have to kind of do their own little freebie that they have. So we've actually gone through and done those as well. My builder really was not necessarily requiring it, but strongly suggesting we should have all of that. But I agree as well. Virtually, we're getting a tremendous amount of activity on all of the listings.
Oh, Emma, you're muted.
Sorry. Randy and Lisa, have you guys seen anything with that in our region, or has it pretty much stayed status quo from what you've noticed?
So I haven't had any specific requests for Matterport, but I think it is imperative to have video walkthrough of some kind, whatever format that is that you choose, and of course, really good photos too. I mean, that's just a given, but we still every once in a while see those photos of a high-end property that were taken with an iPhone. So don't do that, people.
Sure, understand. And then, Randy, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Actually, I wanted to go back a little bit to the jumbo loans. I've been talking to all of my lenders, and I recommend that everybody call their favorite lender and ask them, what they're seeing in the jumbo loans, because I think it also depends on the lender and whether they're a bank or a mortgage lender or whatever. Some of them are looking at that quite differently, and it might change. I mean, from what I've been hearing from everybody, is it's going to change probably weekly until everything gets back to open up and everything, and then they'll figure it all out. But for the next few weeks, it might be interesting for jumbo loans, but they will come back. Someone's going to, several of them will jump back in going, okay, there's too much money to be made here. But it has been interesting on that front, because some of the lenders are just like, nope, we're done. We're not doing them. And they don't want to portfolio them. They don't want to tie up all that capital. There's been several large lenders that have had margin calls and had to write big checks. So they're just being very cautious. So I would recommend everyone chat with their favorite lender and hear it from them.
That's great. Thank you, Randy. Another question has come in, and Lisa, Rick, Randy, if you want to kind of raise your hand if you have input, then I'll unmute you so we're not getting all jumbled here. From Paulette, with hotel inns and VRBOs massive cancellations, I would think that the tourists who turn into buyers will be very impactive. Sorry. Any thought on that market of the cancellations? Okay, Rick, you're on.
Oh, I think the hotel, that's my past career is hotel restaurant industry. And I feel for that whole industry that they have really been shut down. You know, as soon as business starts back up, business travelers will be traveling again. I don't think we're going to see our cruise industry come back to the Seattle area anytime soon. And, you know, with that impacts a lot of the revenue that comes into all of those merchants down on the waterfront. And I think that's going to have an impact, but I think the industry will bounce back with our business travelers. And this is a highly centric business community with Amazon and Microsoft and Google and Facebook and all of those. So I don't think it will be as bad here.
Okay, so for our area, and Paulette is is in Coeur d'Alene. So hi, Paulette. Yeah, we have had a lot of cancellations, but I think, like what Rick said, once they open things back up again, then I think, especially with us being a tourist destination, I do think we're going to see things fill up again, and with summer coming, and they're going to open it back up. So that will bring people in, and that's our busiest time is summer, and we'll see if people are able to travel by then. But I also think that us in particular, we are going to see a lot more people who maybe were not able to work from home before, but now their company has forced that to where they are working virtually and from home. And they are going to be wanting to move to our area where maybe they couldn't have before, but now they can. It's a 1-hour flight to Seattle. So if they have to go back there once a month or something like that, but we're going to see a lot more people working virtually and coming and living here for our recreation that we have in our slower lifestyle. And then being a quick commute to places like Seattle. So I think we're going to see more of that.
Thank you, Lisa. We've had another question come in from Christy, and this is kind of it's a good question, something that needs to happen Windermere wide, it sounds like. But she says, any Windermere innovations coming out of COVID for our high-end properties? I think this is the time for creativity and an opportunity for us to set the standard with some new ideas. Anyone hear or see any new ideas? This is something I can definitely look into. Rick, I don't know if you've seen anything in the Seattle offices specifically in regards to that.
Well, so yesterday we had our we had our premier meeting, a virtual meeting, and they brought in 1000 Watt, who was kind of a panel with he and Obi. And unfortunately, I had to take my wife to a doctor's appointment. She had a fall. And so I could not attend it, but I have to believe some good stuff came out of that meeting yesterday. So kind of be looking for that on the hub with some updates from 1000 Watt. And I think that is more along the lines of Windermere socially and how we socially can handle this. I think there's going to be a lot of newness that comes from that. I think there's a lot of virtual meetings, just like we're doing now with our clients, and listing presentations over virtual media that we didn't necessarily do before, that we're doing a lot more of now. So I just think if we look at this from above and see how we're all kind of working differently, I don't think that's going to go away. I think that's going to be a new part of our new normal.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, we'll definitely look into that. And for people who are like me, could you explain what 1000 Watt is?
So 1000 Watt is out of Portland, and when Premier did their rebranding of the Premier program, They turned to 1000 Watt. It's a consultation company. They work with a lot of the leading brands in the United States for their just for their advertising campaigns, for their branding. They're very, very good. They're kind of a high-end marketing machine down there.
Great, thank you. And with that, we have our Premier directors who meet every month still. We're still doing virtual meetings. So if anyone out there has ideas of what you'd like to see in a Premier, as a Premier offering, or just ideas in general, reach out to your office's Premier director. I encourage that wholeheartedly. Get in touch with them, let them know what you'd like to see. And then when we meet as a group, we can really kind of wade through those options and see what we can make available for everybody, whether you're a Premier director or not. We want to make it as strong of a program as possible. So yeah, Christy, with her observation of this is the time for creativity, we rely on you guys as well. What do you want to see? The more brains that we can put into this, the better. So let us know. Okay, I don't have any other questions in the chat right this moment. Randy, Rick, Lisa, do you guys have any kind of final comments or information you think is important for everyone to hear right now? Okay, Rick, we'll start with you.
And I'll speak up. I've been doing this since 1990, and we've seen a lot of ups and downs in the marketplace. And when it's down like this, look, we will come back, but we are all sitting at home, working from home. Some of us are working with some buyers, some of us are working with some sellers, but by golly, now is certainly the time to pick up the phone and be calling your entire database and putting the ninja practices in play. You just have got to be active every day. You've got to have a routine, get up, take a shower, put your clothes on, go to the office and work, and reach out to our clients. And whether that be via video or whether it be on a phone call, the market will bounce back. But as Randy said, it's what's between the ears, and you've got to just show up every day and pay attention. Windermere is putting out some great stuff. I love the Tuesdays with Todd, where he's talking about different he did video marketing. Fridays with Michael is great. It gives us some good brain power. So tap into what Windermere is putting out there, but stay in touch. Don't neglect social media. Don't neglect the one-on-ones with your clients. Don't neglect your monthly mailings. We've got to continue doing business like we normally would, but step it up in the phone calls.
Great, thank you, Randy. We'll go over to you. Okay, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I think that we've got to look at this as a tremendous opportunity as a realtor to really step it up and connect with your people. Because what I've found is that everybody that I've called, instead of a quick 5-minute conversation, it's ended up being 10, 20, sometimes half an hour, because they're stuck at home and they're not focused on anything else. So you can really connect with your people. And I got news for you. The ranks of real estate agents in the state of Washington and Idaho are going to thin. And this is an opportunity for the true professionals to gain some business that they may not have got before. So that's how you have to look at this, is that this is a tremendous opportunity for all of us to, gain some new clients and as Buffini says, hold some cheeks and, really connect and add to our sphere.
Great, thank you, Randy. Lisa, do you have anything you want to add before we call it a day?
No, not really. I was just thinking the exact same thing that Rick and Randy said as well, just reaching out to people and connecting with people. And I've even done some virtual happy hours on Zoom with friends, tell them all to grab a glass of wine, and we just meet up on Zoom and talk and see how everybody's doing. So Yep. There's some other ways where you can do things and still connect with people as well, and make sure that they're doing okay. I think, a lot of times in real estate we become a counselor as well. So now's that time.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. Chrissy also just chimed in. This is kind of just a general announcement for everybody, but new ideas coming here in Spokane. We started doing the Journal of Business in color. It's true, we did it. It looked so good. Keep an eye out for that. I'll send it out to everyone just because I'm proud of it. It looks really good. If you think of anything else Windermere as a whole can do to help these high-end properties, let your Premier directors know. So just reiterating, communication, just let us know. We can do a lot. Just give us the ideas or give us the push that that's something you're interested in. And I'll unmute all of you guys real quick just so you can say bye. I want to thank Randy, Rick, and Lisa for coming in today. We appreciate your guys' time and your insight. It's very appreciated. Please, everyone, keep an eye out for that email as well with the virtual tour as a reminder.
For facilitating, Emma.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Emma.
Yes,
Rick, good to see you.
Good to see you, Randy. I see Windermere Hub just posted Tasty Thursdays. So
you.